Very good morning to TIP TV, and welcome again to one of my CEO interviews. And this one has a little bit of a twist to it, which we'll allude to as we start off. I'd like to welcome this morning Fiona MacAulay, who is about to become CEO of Echo Energy, and of course an old friend here is James Parsons, who is non-executive chairman. Before we start, Fiona, I know that you haven't even started yet, so it would be really helpful if you could tell us, you're coming from Rockhopper, but you can give a bit of background and tell us, the excitement that you feel as you climb aboard.
Absolutely. Well, thank you very much for inviting me in here today, Malky, and I'm absolutely delighted to be in here. Clearly, everybody's been watching the new Echo story since the relaunch in March. I certainly have been participating in watching that news flow come through. So I'm hugely excited to be part of that news story. We have the opportunity here to have a blank canvas to fill. We can paint a few very good pictures, I hope. So that chance to be there up front and centre of this new growth story is so exciting for me, to be able to build a team, to build an asset base. So yeah, really raring to go.
And I know that it was a very amicable departure after a long period, very successful period at Rockhopper. So come the 4th or 5th of July, 4th of July.
Yeah, well, 5th of July starting with Echo, but yes, I shall leave a large part of my heart sitting in the Falklands, but
yes, yeah. Well, plenty to go for there. So I think the best bet is, as usual, for me to ask now James as non-executive chairman, because you have been involved very much in the restructuring of RG, what has now become Echo Energy.
Yeah.
So why don't you tell us what's been going on and how you are now placed, because action is very shortly about to commence, isn't it?
Well, that's right, Melky. This is a very carefully orchestrated plan. So what we've done here is distill down 5 years of experience with sound energy into less than 5 months in Echo. So it's a new strategy, a new team, a new vision, new cornerstone investors. It's really all coming together. And having Fiona on board is absolutely fantastic. Having her at the helm is exactly what you want. I only made one call for this appointment, and Fiona is here with us, which is great. So it's really been about keeping what we have in sound energy, which is at the core of our DNA, this focus on private investors. We want that intimacy, that connection. We want people to feel like they own the business, and we behave as such in a very transparent fashion. Fiona will take that mantle forward, and we've really got now the vision to begin to build this South American exploration gas company.
Excellent. So, Fiona, why don't you tell me where you think the strategy might lead you to? And we've heard a number of stories about different countries, and I understand that the first deal is maybe the first and second deals are fairly imminent. Obviously, you can't say anything about them, but tell us about where you're going to be country-wise and.
That's right. So we do have a couple of deals that are imminent, and we have an AGM coming up next week, and we hope that we should be in a position to say a little bit more at that point in time. I think the hashtag at Bolivia and beyond gives us a fairly good clue as to the likely starting points for acquisitions. We've looked at South America as a whole. Bolivia is a little bit of a middle child. It's sandwiched between two of the biggest economies in South America, Brazil and Argentina. It does have a fantastic gas infrastructure within there, and it's got multi-TCF prospectivity that sits within that. And that's not gone unnoticed by some of the majors. I mean, we see Shell and Repsol both very active in that country. And we do believe that there is an opportunity there for an exploration-led mid-cap company that we hope to become to actually make a big impact. So we have a stable gas pricing system there. There is exports of gas to Argentina, to Brazil. Those are long-term contracts that are in place and are currently being renegotiated. And alongside that, there's a domestic gas market that's growing. So we really are getting to a level of supply-demand imbalance. So we feel that we can make a really big play in that environment. So, as I say, difficult for us to say any more right at the moment, but that does give us a focus.
And you'll be spending a fair bit of your time in South America, I assume. And
I will. I believe that almost my first day on the job will be headed off in that direction. So yes, intending to spend a good deal of my time down in that part of the world.
good. Well, you obviously you're not the only appointment to the team, because you are now the leader, and you'll be presumably making further new appointments to the team. I imagine that we can hear. I mean, you'll need a CFO, for example. You've made an appointment on a VP who's, I notice, is extremely experienced. How do you plan building your team?
So, I think we're at a fantastic point in the market in that there are a number of hugely qualified people that are available. This means that we really have been able to look and cherry pick individuals. Julian Besser, who's going to be joining us, or has joined us as the VP of Exploration, is a first-rate candidate. Former exploration manager for BG in Bolivia. He knows that area and the whole of South America exceedingly well. Technically, a fantastic character. So he will be the cornerstone of the exploration team going forward. And we're certainly talking to a number of other individuals to help boost that team. And as I say, in some ways, being at this point in the market gives us an enormous amount of flexibility and the ability to really choose the absolute creme de la creme for that team. You've just alluded to the fact that we do, or we will shortly be announcing a new CFO, and he's going to be a cornerstone as well to that key group within ECHO. And again, we hope that potentially, maybe even by the AGM, we'll be able to make an announcement regarding that. We're going to be looking towards our regional office, and at the moment we're debating between whether that should be in Buenos Aires or in Bogota. That kind of depends on the first couple of deals that are completed, but we do realise that we're going to need a regional office, and that we're going to need somebody who is absolutely a first-class individual to help us in that role. So we're talking as we speak.
That's good news. James, the company is already well funded. I mean, very few companies effectively get to start date with such a good funding. I noticed that your backing has been by with Marco Fumigale and Continental Group, as well as Sound. Maybe you could give us an idea of the excitement that they're behind you on this venture.
Well, absolutely. I mean, that's a great partnership which has proved very successful in Sound Energy. We've tried to pull that across, and really combining these cornerstone investors with our retail, our private investor group is the sort of winning combination here, we feel. That's not to say that long-term institutions won't come into the stock. Absolutely, that's part of the plan. But really, we want to get the assets in, get the early stage funding. And Fiona and the team here have the perfect blank canvas in a way, £26 million of cash ready to go, ready to rumble. A region, as Fiona alluded to, the ABC of South America, Argentina, Bolivia, Colombia, really setting it up for success here at the drill bit. And this is all about a stock which is going to take unashamedly risk. It's going to take exploration bets, looking for that 10-bagger potential. When we started this, we were quite public. We were hovering around 10 pence, that a pound was sort of our sort of target out there, and no change to that. So these assets will be designed to achieve that. They'll have that sort of risk profile, and obviously we'll be de-risking that with good, high-quality technical work, but also key strategic partners who will help us fund and technically de-risk those assets. That's the sort of the game plan.
Well, that's great news. And regarding these assets, are we going to be talking? I mean, you mentioned earlier the exploration side of it, but I mean, will there be some production? Maybe will there be? Is it going to be primarily exploration? And
the idea is that this is an exploration-led company. Having said that, we're in a market that we can be opportunistic, and if we can put some production into that portfolio, then absolutely we will do that. One of the key facets of any production deal that we would consider doing, however, is that we've got significant upside that sits within that portfolio. It needs to have an underlying exploration portfolio to sit alongside it.
so might this involve partners, taking on partners and being involved with companies in the areas, or so that you won't just be buying an asset, you might buy.
Yeah, I think it can be a combination of asset and corporate acquisitions, mergers, deals along the way. There are a few other big players in the region. We're in contact with them. It's exciting times for us having the cash available, which I think many of those partners suffer from access to capital. So we think we can bring that cash and our talent to unlock some tricky situations there. Very exciting.
It's a bit of a cheeky question, really, but I mean, is it possible that you might consider corporate acquisitions or buying in part of a corporate to get you into a specific area, or to go, share the costs of something which might be quite substantial in Echo's terms?
Yeah, I think that's possible. I mean, that would help accelerate the growth of the portfolio. That's great, but also as long as we can unlock something unique, either by bringing our capital or bringing our sort of talent connectivity, institutional connectivity, particularly, if we can bring those in and unlock a situation, that's very much what we're about. Yeah.
And does the way that you financed and funded Echo mean that you pay cash, you can pay with shares, or you can use debt? Have you got any particular...
Very flexible. In our model, Malky, as you know from Sound Energy, has always been to use our paper for vendors and transactions if they're needed, and to really preserve cash to go into the ground. I mean, that's the model. Cash is always scarce no matter how much you have, and so that's not going to change. But we've got some big bets we want to take in Bolivia and beyond. Those will require some cash. We'll also bring in some partners to help us fund them, and then we've got our paper really to do the building of the business, let's say, around that.
Yeah. And another cheeky question, because it's been asked, a number of big questions been asked since this interview was announced, and you walked into the trap a little bit by mentioning Buenos Aires. Bogota to Buenos Aires sounds good, but when we talk about Buenos Aires, you talk about the Falklands, and of course, people have been talking about everything from the West Indies. I mean, Latin America is everything from the West Indies down to the Falklands. We'll be keeping a close eye on what's going on down there, and
well, we'll certainly be keeping a close eye on that. As you know, relationships between Argentina and the Falklands are improving. They're not perfect, but of course we'll be.
Yeah, I mean, I understand that, and more importantly, I was thinking in terms of the relationships with Argentina, because you've been as close as anyone to seeing. I mean, I remember writing about it about 18 months ago, whenever it was that the Foreign Office Minister went down and got greeted, in a very, very favourable fashion. I've watched Macri and how it's all worked, and in fact, pick up the front page of the FT today, and they've launched a 100-year bond in Argentina. So, some of these assets you're looking at to do work on, Argentina isn't ruled out.
It certainly isn't ruled out in any way, shape or form. And I think what we're seeing as well is the Argentinian economy it is slowly moving its way up through the world rankings. I think it's moved up 20 places over the last 3 years. So we're certainly seeing a much greater degree of stability in there. Macri obviously has an outward investment focused vision, and the fruits of that are being seen now in their. I mean,
it does mean that stability in the area is good, because we're hearing better things from President in Paraguay, and of course in Argentina, and in America, in Colombia. So it does appear that you're striking the continent at a time when it's most exciting, I suspect.
Yeah, and this whole region is very gas hungry. I mean, I wouldn't forget that gas prices are at a premium there, and the infrastructure is all in place. I mean, Bolivia should be seen as an unloved sort of supply hub connected to the big gas hungry markets, and actually, because of the Morales effect and the political scene there, you've really not seen a lot of investment.
And they're importers of gas, I guess.
Well, they've got supply commitments to these large surrounding gas hungry markets, which they can't meet.
Yeah.
So we're there to help them with that and make some money along the way.
I'm sure you will. You did mention the shareholders before about being primarily retail, and that's the way. I mean, that's the way you develop Sound. That's the way you intend to develop Echo. If an institutional formed up next to you and said, we'd like about, or even if you did a placing, have you ever thought that institutions are ruled out?
No, these are not mutually exclusive options. We've started with our cornerstone investors and brought in the retail, the private investors alongside that. That's a beautiful recipe that has worked very well for us in Sound Energy. As and when I think institutional equity markets open up for our sector, which frankly is a bit challenged at the moment with the cycle in terms of oil price where it is, as and when they open up, we're absolutely open for business, and we would expect, as we do with Sound, quite a raft of inbound investment there. But the timing here is important. We're at the low point in the cycle, so assets are cheap. We've got access to capital that's quite unique and scarce, and we think as that cycle turns, both the assets become more interesting and also institutions get involved. So the is everything.
Yeah, and you've been quoted recently as saying that the ideal, the age span for an E&P company should be 5 to 7 years.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
we
yeah.
assume that, given that in previous incarnations you've always said that the business is to be built and sold and then move
Yep.
on to the next thing,
Yep.
that's presumably the plan for...
That is absolutely the plan. Find the hydrocarbons, in our case, particularly focused in on gas, and then exit after a couple of years. And I think the beauty of Echo, with the acceleration it's had, condensing down the 5 years learning into 5 months here, is it can be much quicker than it was with sound, because we don't need to spend those first couple of positioning years structuring.
Yeah. Fiona, we're getting to the end, so what I always ask is for the CEO to give me an idea of, and the thousands of people who will be sitting here watching, to give us an idea of how you see, if you come back in 6 to 12 months' time, what you see, what the vision for the first year under your leadership of Echo, how you see it.
So I would really hope that the 3 Ps of Echo, so the 3 pillars of people, partnerships and portfolio are moulded together, that we have significant assets under our belt, that we have a fantastic team both in the head office in the UK and in our regional offices, and that we have built some strategic partnerships both in the countries where the assets are and potentially with incoming parties that want to be involved with us in those assets. So filling those 3 Ps is my goal for the next 6 to 12 months.
Well, we look forward to seeing you back there back here in say 12 months' time to see how it's gone.
Thank you.
James, I can't possibly let you get away. I know this is meant to be Echo Day, and it quite rightly is, but you've got an amazing fortnight on your hands. We went to see Sidi Mokhtar being drilled last week. There's almost a sign of an airline ticket to Milan ticking out your pocket there, so there's obviously excitement with Badile.
Yeah.
Anything just you want to say, or you...
Well, as far as my day job goes with sound, I mean, this is a week, let's say, that we've been waiting for an awful, awful long time. Unashamedly, high risk, high reward, the Badile result, whatever comes now, and I'm off to Milan shortly, and hugely exciting. Looking forward to it. I think we're going to need a drum roll, Monk.
Well, we'll do what we can. There'll be another hashtag.
Yeah.
There's certainly hashtag busy fortnight. So, Fiona, it's been absolutely delightful, and thank you so much for coming in, even before you start as CEO of Echo Energy. And again, James, for coming in again with your non-executive hat on. It's been great to see you both. Thank you very much indeed.
Thanks,
Look
Marky.
forward to seeing you again on the next CEO interview here on TIP TV. Bye now.